Well, thank you very much, David. Now, let's delve a bit deeper into this particular story of what's happening around the country with the floods. I'm joined in the studio by Peter Murgor, who's the manager disaster risk reduction at the Kenya Red Cross. And we'll also be joined shortly by the governor of Nakuru County, Kihika, who will be joining us via video link from Nakuru. She spent the day, of course, dealing with the devastating aftermath of the Mai Mahiu disaster. Peter, I want to start here, and thank you very much for joining us. We can see what's happening across the country. Even that story that we ran earlier by Vera, which is saying that whether experts are predicting that this is just, it's going to continue. You at the Kenya Red Cross, you deal with these experts and you continuously are looking at the information that's coming in, but also you have your officers on the ground and what they're dealing with now. We are being told that this is going to get worse. Do you think that the people are prepared for anything worse than what we're currently dealing with now?
Thank you, Eric. And actually, so speaking, that's the unfortunate thing about disasters. You try as much as you can to get ready and prepared for them, but it catches you off guard in terms of the intensity, magnitude, and even scope of how it strikes. For example, we have what we've been calling traditional flooding areas. This time it's been different in terms of intensity of the rains, different in terms of the geographical scope. Like Nairobi was one of the most affected in a ways we've not seen before, infrastructure being disrupted, and the new entrant being 32 to 33 counties being affected. And the worst of all is the Mai Mahiu incidents, where we are seeing mudslides that sweeping away an entire village. So is this going to get worse? I think it's likely to be worse in the sense that, first of all, according to the Kenya Met Department, and I must make a statement here, Eric, that gone are the days when you could be skeptic about the predictions. There's a lot of precision. The skill of forecast and the model of forecast that is being used by the Kenya Met gives a lot of precision in terms of time of expected, duration of anticipation, and the nature of impact, and even to the area. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that we should take seriously the credible forecast being issued by Kenya Met. So what they're showing us is that this now is moving towards low-lying areas and people around the lake and the coastal belt. Yeah. For example, Lake Victoria now, the water levels have risen, so we are going to experience seepages and we're going to experience backflow of Lake Victoria. Now, the other thing is low-lying areas, or what we would say downstream. Remember, from the mountain areas, the water has been draining downwards. Then Nzoia River Basin, the Tana and Athi, they want to pour. Where are they going to pour to? Downstream. Another context to look at is the dams. For the first time, we have all the 6 dams being reported as reaching their level of alarm. So we are looking at the scenario whereby the dams are going to start overpouring, so people around dams need to be at an alert. We are looking at loose soils in various places that are prone to mudslides. We are looking at even issues that the millimeters of the water that the ground has been able to host, the water table has risen. So it's not about heavy rains. Any longer continued sustained rainfall that increases the millimeters of the water leads to flooding. And lastly, if I may put this across, that even we are beginning to prepare ourselves as Kenya Red Cross, is the aftermath.
After all this is gone.
After the floods have subsided.
Right.
We need to start thinking of what are we left to deal with. A good example is the people in Mai Mahiu, for instance. A lot of people have been buried in debris. We are realizing that 76 people are still missing in our tracing efforts. Our team is still on ground. We are still doing tracing. Right now, as we speak, we were just having a conversation with the team on the ground, and they're still trying to settle the people to give them the evening food. That's around 256 people. Where are they going to resettle? How are they going to meet their food needs, their mental health? So
what kind of support are they receiving?
Exactly.
And I think this is a good time then to bring in the Governor of Nakuru County, Susan Kihika, who joins us via video link. Governor, thank you very much for joining us. Here with us in the studio is Peter Murgor, the Manager for Disaster Risk Reduction at the Kenya Red Cross, and he's just, preempted the question that was coming to you. We have people who are displaced in the Mai Mahiu flooding. Tonight, they need support. So what kind of support are they receiving now? Where are they staying? What support are you giving them as a coordinator with the national government, the Red Cross, and other well-wishers?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on this evening. What has been happening right now, let me back up a little bit. I don't know how much you've talked about it, the Mai Mahiu incident specifically. But as of right now, we actually have we have 304 people in the temporary facility that we have for them right now. So 304 people have been displaced in that facility. And what we are doing, I heard I think you said Peter, the manager of Red Cross, talk about food is being prepared right now. So for right now, as far as things like food, that's okay. We've gotten quite a bit from Nakuru County itself, from ourselves, from Kiambu County, from the national government. That's led by the president, obviously. We had the deputy president yesterday, and today we've had the president. We've also received a lot of food, a lot of help from Red Cross, from other different volunteer groups, from private citizens, from just many different agencies, and that has been very helpful. But as we speak, we still have people in hospital. We had initially 112 that were admitted in our various hospitals, from Naivasha Sub-County Hospital, Mai Mahiu Hospital, Longonot, and a few private facilities. But thankfully, or thank God, as of today, from the 112, we have 26 admitted, so the rest have been discharged. But now we have them back at the camp, or at the school where we have set up a temporary place. We also know that schools are reopening on Monday, so we have to move them. I think we have until Friday, then we have to move them again so that the school can prepare to receive students. In addition to that, we have confirmed dead, or we have bodies of 51 people so far. We still have extensive areas that are still being searched for recovery, for rescue and all that. We have boots on the ground. We've had a lot of help from the INYS, and today when the president was on site, has had the Kenya Defence Forces also join us, and they will be on the ground. Most of them have arrived this evening, and they'll be on the ground tomorrow morning, very early tomorrow morning. So we are still continuing with the search because it's quite a vast area, and we are hopeful that within the next few days we are able to complete that. So the help really that will be really needed and then also counseling, because a lot of these are family members who've lost family members. The unfortunate part of it is because the rains came at night, you find that a house was carried away. So you have, I think there is one family today that was telling us, it's a family of 8, there were 4 of them there, and they told us their 4 children are still missing. They still have not been found. So it was really, really a terrible situation. I know I was told of a young family where the father, the mother, and the child all drowned, or the bodies were found. So it's a lot of those stories. So it's very, very mentally difficult for these families. So we've had a lot of counseling on site, a lot of it also from churches, like we said, from Red Cross, AMREF, World Health Organization, just private citizens also volunteering. So the bigger now, heavier lifting will be from Friday, where we have to move these families, get them in sort of a temporary place as we decide what to do. Because if you have seen the pictures, the water was so powerful that it carried everything, be they homes, trees that were 30, 40 years old. I mean, they were telling us from, children to families to goats and cattle and everything. So it's like a place where there was never anything to begin with. So there'll be a lot of rebuilding. However, we want to first make sure that it's even a safe place to rebuild for people. So as the president said today, we'll have experts get up there.
Let me just cut in here, Governor, and just ask you the question. What is the structure right now of the organization? who's leading this effort? We know that there are two parts. There's a search and rescue, and then there's a support. Who's leading this? Is it the county government that's leading? Is it the national government? Is the Kenya Defense Forces going to come and take over the lead? Who's leading it? What's the structure like? Where can people plug in? Where is the Red Cross fitting in? Where is the county government fitting? Where is the national government fitting in terms of just supporting those that the 304 people who are displaced and are living in a camp? Who's leading it? Who's making the decision? Come Friday, whose call is it going to be on where they move to?
Actually, as of right now, it's not one person or one agency leading it. We have set up committees for the different needs that you've actually spoken to, and it's led. We say now the main committee is led by a representative from Red Cross, from the county government, as well as from the national government. So at that top level, it's those three. And then everybody else comes in there, everybody else comes in. And within that one main committee, then we have another about 7 different committees. Some that are dealing with the continuing search and rescue or search and recovery, some to do with just making sure that the facilities or where the people are, for example tonight, that people have food to eat, people have clothes to wear, because actually one of the major issues that I noticed was, when you're carried away by water, nobody has time to pick up anything. So a lot of the times, the ladies or the people are telling me that you get out, obviously, you're carried away with only what you're wearing, but beyond that, even what you're wearing, sometimes the water tore it apart. So there was a big issue on even things like clothing. So we have a certain team as well that's leading on those donations that we are asking for, that we are getting, sorting them out, making sure that, for example, I have many little babies in that at the school, and making sure that not only are we receiving food for the adults, but we have, say, for example, diapers and milk for these kids, these younger babies. But now beyond that, we are also sitting together now with at the higher level and working on what we are going to do with this population of 304. And remember, it's not just those who are affected or whose loved ones were carried away or themselves carried away. There are also people that we've told they need and they must move away, because where they are staying right now, where their homes are, they could also be in danger as it's still continuing to rain. So what we have agreed, as I said, it's a team with all of us. We as the county government will be hosting the 3 or 4 displaced, plus however many others that will join. Will be hosting. As of right now, we have some land at the Mahio sub-county hospital that's under construction, but there's still quite some big part of land within the compound. So we may be setting up some temporary structures there as we decide on what to do with these displaced people in the days after Friday. So that's a bigger part of the need that's really there. But in the meantime, like I said, we need anyone who can plug in, anybody who can come in and help. Their help is welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Governor. Peter, coming back to you as we sort of wind up in this conversation, even the president now has said 48 hours, if you're living in lowland areas, please vacate. The question that we don't hear, the answer that we don't hear is where to? And what's the procedure of moving? You've been dealing with this for a long time now, telling people, you're living in lowland areas, you're living in flood-prone areas, you're living in landslide-prone areas, you need to move. Where do you tell the people to go to? And how do they move?
Thank you very much, Lati, for that question. And I think it has two parts I want to answer it in 2 parts. There are conversations that need to happen in the longer term, because then people start thinking, because some people have, and I think this is something we have as Kenyan people, we move to areas and make them our places. For example, riparian lands and waterways, those are risky areas. So I think if people have gone and constructed along waterways, it was always going to be a risky affair. It just means these people need to make plans to be in alternative areas. Yeah. But that is now another tenure, land tenure, and residency. Those are different issues that need to have conversations in the longer term.
Okay.
But in the immediate, I think the advice can be in the spirit of mitigating against risk of loss of life. It would be prudent at this point for the people concerned to try and self-evacuate, make an evacuation plan. This is the time maybe you may need to reach out to your existing coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms in the sense that, do you have an alternative up-country place that you can go to? Do you have your ancestral home that is another place apart from where you are now, that now you may temporarily move out? Because I think the statement is, these people need to move out from areas predisposed,
where they are currently.
predisposed to disaster. Let's first of all save lives. Let's first of all avoid risk. Then we can start having those conversations of where to. I would see it from a risk reduction perspective. That's how I would see it. So that now later on we can start having conversations is, did you need even to be there in the first place?
Yeah. But Peter, even the later on question. Right now, the National Government Administration officers, the county governments, and the others, and the Kenya Red Cross. You've heard Governor Kihika, for example, saying, just looking at what has happened in Maimahiu, they can already think, well, we had a Maimahiu sub-county hospital, we had land there, maybe people could move there. Can't the government agencies be thinking that way right now? Identify those areas and tell people, please move, go. If you don't have anywhere else to go, at least you have this place to go.
So there's normally what we do called hazard mapping, and one process of hazard mapping and in the coordination mechanisms. And just even to speaking a bit to what you had asked Governor Kihika, and she's rightly said it, on the coordination mechanism, there's the National Disaster Operations Center that takes lead at the national level, county steering groups that coordinates at the county level, which is led by the governor and the county commissioner, and then Red Cross and humanitarian actors who fill in between. So what normally happens is a collaborative effort to map out what we call evacuation centers. So these evacuation centers can be schools, can be churches, can be land where probably government allocates and says this land is alternative place whereby people can be temporarily evacuated. So now then we do what we call temporary shelter. Temporary shelter, for example, is where we can come with our expertise as Kenya Red Cross, for instance, to construct temporary shelter using tarpaulins and a temporary structure, then provide what we are calling basic NFI items for dignified just for dignified human existence. Just
for temporary movement.
Yeah, for
You're
temporary.
From here, at least you can stay here as we think
and
of
there's
the next.
Exactly. And there's the non-food items to address issues like what she was talking about, sanitary pads, dignity kits for people who've lost everything.
Right.
So as to the question of where they're moving to, I think the right thing that is happening is the mapping of the potential evacuation centers.
Okay.
They're now planning on temporary shelter.
Peter, thank you very much for that conversation. Peter Murgor is the manager for disaster risk reduction at the Kenya Red Cross. We've also been having the conversation with Governor Susan Kihika of Nakuru County, who's told us what they're doing to address the 304 people who were displaced. She's given us an update, 51 people dead so far, and 26 admitted to hospitals. More coming up. Ahead in business,